Black Clover is an interesting addition to shonen animated adaptations. Many Shonen Jump big-name series have concluded. The only regularly updated shonen animated series to the current date are Dragon Ball Super, One Piece, Boruto The Next Generation, My Hero Academia, and now Black Clover. At least those are the ones that stick out in my current memory. Due to the new marketing of animated series, it is less likely for a show to have a new episode come out every single week. For example, even though My Hero Academia is an ongoing shonen series, the animated adaptation operates in seasons rather than arcs, and it takes a break after a season concludes to let the graphic novel push out more chapters. The peculiarity with Black Clover results from its execution. Here are the abridged concepts. Lead lacks abilities in a world where seemingly everyone possesses abilities. Lead wants to become the number one most respected position in the world society. Lead has boundless enthusiasm, confidence, focuses primarily on physical conditioning, and operates as a class clown archetype. Rival is stoic, talented, and pursues the same goal as Lead. Evil and bully characters are cruel because cruelty is fun, rather than having established goals or integrity themselves. All characters look down on Lead, but praise Rival. Rival receives a powerful asset to aid them on their adventure. Lead receives an even better asset to aid them on their adventure. All of these fit into the pool of shonen cliches. Done to death or not, My Hero Academia proved that an audience can appreciate familiar content if it has enough polish and charm to set it apart from the pack. So, rather than harp on the set pieces, let's get on to the episodes. The first 2 episodes contain content from the first chapter of the graphic novel. Considering that the first chapter is usually longer, this isn't abnormal. What would be the pacing. The Black Clover manga's pacing is relatively quick, moving the plot forward at a steady pace. The animated adaptation seems intent on doing the exact opposite. Episode 1 introduces the characters, emphasizing how little people believe in Asta, versus how much they adore Yuno. Asta lacks the ability to use magic. Meanwhile, his friend, Yuno, is a prodigy. This, of course, doesn't stop him from attempting to use magic. Following the conversations that really only exist to establish gags, character archetypes, and plenty of exposition, the friends head out to receive their grimoires. Yuno receives the 4-leaf clover, which was held by the previous Wizard King. Asta, of course, receives a 5-leaf clover grimoire and all of its immense demonic assistance. A bad guy appears and causes some trouble, leaving the audience on a cliffhanger. Episode 2 is approximately 15 minutes of flashback. Backstory isn't a problem. Timing is. Not only does this follow an action sequence left on a cliffhanger, it also barely offers any more context than the exposition offered by banter in the first episode. We know that Yuno and Asta got beat up. And after that, Yuno stopped crying and became his now stoic self. We know his necklace means something to him. We also know that Asta is a brawn over brain character that thinks he can do anything as long as he believes hard enough. Episode 1 provided the vague framework. Episode 2's flashback provided unnecessary details. The second episode proceeds to end with Asta beating the baddie. While the first 2 episodes are largely unspectacular in any one category, shonen tends to improve as it goes on. Episode 3 throws a wrench into that mentality. You see, episode 3 is filler. Remember when I stated that the manga's pacing is quick? The animated adaptation thus far is a slug. Episode 3 proves that you can make an entire episode dedicated to emphasizing how much confidence you have in the rival, how laughable everyone thinks the lead is, and fill the rest with believe in yourself speeches and travel montages. I counted at least 7 instances in the 3rd episode having various characters state that Asta will likely fail and Yuno will definitely succeed. In fact, there is plenty of repeated information given to the audience, to the point where the show risks insulting a viewer's intelligence. Episode 2, even with poor timing and ultimately unnecessary context, was easily the most enjoyable episode of the 3. Asta and Yuno's relationship as children accomplishes a difficult task, making Asta's bullheaded nature charming for a moment. While some viewers have pointed out that Yuno is similar in design and energy level to Sasuke, don't worry, his personality and motivations are far more likable. The duo are competing to avoid being left in the other's shadow, and Yuno does genuinely care about Asta and his goals. Aiming to become number one lacks a ton of depth and motivation, but it can be serviceable in the short term. For those who despise CGI, there's plenty of it, primarily for the magic effects. The first big portion of this story is approaching, so it will be interesting to see how the story's pacing plays out. The start of Black Clover is slow, and this is reflected in the ratings. The amount of attention that this show garners has dropped fast. From episode 1 to episode 2, a 24% drop in ratings. From episode 2 to 3, a 44% drop in ratings. This is the sharpest drop of any fall animated series when popularity is factored in. For reference, another popular show from this fall season, The Ancient Magus' Bride, saw a drop of 29% from the first episode to the second. And despite the third episode for this show being available to non-premium members of Crunchyroll for less time than Black Clover's third episode, the ratings for it have gone up 17%. Black Clover needs to climb out of the ditch it dug for itself if this adaptation wants to win its plentiful shonen audience back. The first 2 episodes are a reasonable adaptation of the first chapter. Favor leans towards episode 2 due to its stronger pathos-heavy story. The third episode is skippable. Nothing of value will be lost in its absence. Slow pacing can feel short if it maintains the audience's interest. Thus far, Black Clover's startup has struggled to execute in this category. The art is consistent enough through the episodes, and unlike most critics, I don't consider the CGI distracting. So this show's Magic Knight's exam arc has the potential to restore some confidence in the audience. Time will tell. There are decent moments scattered throughout that will wear on shonen trope tolerance. The exposition contained in dialogue is repetitive, and occasionally the frequency of gags and info is insulting to the viewer. So expectations should stay low. That's it for this video. I'll be covering other animated series in the future. Until then... Why? I got through this without ripping you. What more do you want? Fine. There's only one detail to address. Asta's incessant screaming is grating. Sometimes infuriatingly dissonant. Luffy and Goku's Japanese screams grated on my patience, and if you relate to that, trust me, this is worse. Examples of acceptable screams.
One day I'll be the Wizard King, and I'll make you the happiest woman in the world! That's why I'm asking, will you please marry me?
How not to scream. Even if Black Clover improves, Asta's screams will deter audience members. He is the lead character in this series. How do you mess that up? Stay cool, my dude.